keep it talking.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm a drug recovery worker and I'm also a drug user. In this video, I'll be discussing just some of the rich history of drug user activism. For decades, through community organisation and grassroots movements, activists have set out to have their voices heard. One of the catalysing forces for the galvanisation of drug user activism was the HIV and AIDS epidemic of the 80s. Organisations such as ACT UP, a HIV activist group, inspired drug user rights activists, many of whom were involved in the HIV response. They quickly came to realise the power these movements had and their collective ability to effect change. In the 90s, Theo van Dam of the Netherlands set up the National Interest Group of Drug Users. He helped open the first illegal drug consumption room, focused on providing clean needles and syringes, and helped bring together the 24 active drug user groups that were functioning across the Netherlands at the time. He even took a group of drug users to the Dutch Parliament, where they smoked heroin in an attempt to show others that we do not change like animals just because we use drugs. These activists even helped curtail the sexual exploitation of women who use drugs by the police, by speaking directly with the chief of police about what they were hearing from these women. In Canada, organisations such as VANDU, the Vancouver Area Network of Drug Users, helped change road laws and install speed bumps in areas where their peers were being killed by speeding cars. In 2017, Zoe Dodd, among others, set up an illegal drug consumption site in Moss Park, Toronto. Run out of a gazebo for 9 months, they reversed the overdoses of more than 200 people and saved countless others through their harm reduction work and dispensing of naloxone, a drug that pulls people out of opiate overdoses. As a direct result of Canadian activists, there are more than 15 drug consumption rooms in Ontario alone, saving hundreds, if not thousands, of people's lives each year. Similarly, in Scotland, Peter Crikant, a former heroin user himself, has recently set up a mobile overdose prevention site. Operating outside Glasgow's busiest needle exchange, he sees approximately 5 injections per hour and has already saved the lives of 4 people through the reversal of overdoses. In 2019, there were over 1,200 drug-related overdose deaths in Scotland alone, all of which were preventable. In terms of saving lives, these sites are absolutely essential. With more than 200 drug consumption rooms or overdose prevention sites now running across the world, all as a direct result of drug user activism, there still has not been a single recorded overdose death in any of these. To deny the efficacy or urgency in which we need these sites is to willingly embrace the deaths of thousands of humans each year. Across Asia, activists there are battling some of the harshest regimes, with estimates of over 400,000 people in what are essentially concentration camps for drug users, where torture, murder and forced labour have become some drug users' normality. President Duterte of the Philippines even said he would happily slaughter the 3 million drug users that reside there. User activist organisations such as the Indian Harm Reduction Network, Asian Network of People Who Use Drugs, and PKNY, the Network of People Who Use Drugs in Indonesia, have been trying to claim their human rights back. Through peer support, emotional support and direct advocacy, these groups have been promoting humane drug policy, providing legal aid for drug users and actively working on social participation within the community. One member of PKNI said, "We are trying to claim our rights back, to make the country understand that we too are citizens whose basic human rights must be respected." A gentleman named Brun Gonzalez, the regional representative for the Latin American Network of People Who Use Drugs, highlights in Taking Back What's Ours, a documentary series produced by the International Network of People Who Use Drugs and Drug Reporter, that drug users are seen as having a sickness of the mind, perceived as being dirty or immoral. It is the moral high ground that policymakers and governments adopt that then bleeds into our policy frameworks and laws, allowing the stigmatisation and deaths of millions across the globe. The right for respect, protection and the fulfilment of the inalienable human rights of people who use drugs is a defining and fundamental feature of all drug user rights movements. They have promoted self-determination, the notion that people who use drugs are people, and the upholding of human dignity. Fundamentally, these movements aim to generate peace, born out of necessity, passion, and fighting for social justice for people who use drugs at a time when the scale of human rights violations in many countries has been almost incalculable. Thank you for listening. Support, don't punish.
You got some nerve and you're standing up right in front of me. You talk to you and talk